Gravity Falls, a show of humor, mystery, and casual viewing. Unless you're me. My name is Christian. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed as Dipper Pines and about to rewatch the entire series. Rest assured, there's a perfectly logical explanation.
Alright, now move on to the deep end. And yeah, this episode's okay. Definitely kind of another kind of like one and done episode, but it does have a couple Easter eggs that'll be brought up later down the line. And the basic premise of this episode is that it's the hottest day in Gravity Falls, so the characters decide to go to the pool to cool off. And Dipper finds out that Wendy is one of the lifeguards, so he applies for a job in order to be a lifeguard assistant. And that's when we get reintroduced to the character of Mr. Poolcheck, who was introduced in the previous episode as kind of like a background character, but now he's kind of like a full supporting character. And then we also get introduced to the character of Mirando, and Mirando is Mabel's new crush, and Mabel thinks he's just a kid who doesn't want to leave the pool. But then as the episode goes on, she realizes that he's actually a mermaid who got separated from his family and then ended up in Gravity Falls pool and doesn't have a way to escape. Basically, the rest of the episode is Mabel trying to find ways in order to break Mirando out of the pool and get him back into his home. And then Dipper's kind of trying to prevent that because Mr. Poolcheck is this very intense lifeguard manager, and all the shenanigans that Mabel gets into kind of like break all the pool rules. So Dipper's trying to prevent that, and then also trying to spend as much time as he can with Wendy. But then everything kind of comes to a head, or Mabel steals the cooler, fills up the water, throws Mirando in there, and then steals one of the golf carts to help Mirando escape, and they ride off to Gravity Falls Lake. And then Dipper, being Dipper, trying to prevent all that from happening, kind of uses one of the other golf carts from the pool to chase after them, so there's this whole big chase. But then they eventually come to Gravity Falls Lake, and Mirando gets knocked out of the cooler and, is kind of like suffocating, everything like that, and Mabel's kind of begging Dipper to save him. So then kind of get into the funny scene of Dipper performing reverse CPR on Mirando, of putting the water in his mouth and spitting it back into Mirmando's mouth, and Mirando reviving and everything. But then Mirando pointing out, why don't you just dump me in the lake? And then, facepalm moment for Dipper, which is a note that Alex Hirsch and his crew got from the executives. The executives just saying, why don't they just put Mirando into the lake instead of having to do reverse CPR? And then them kind of in the facepalm moment, so they put that into the script itself. So I think that was really funny. So then Mirando goes back to the lake, gets reunited with his family, has a big Free Willy moment of him jumping over Mabel, and then Mabel going yeah! They have their first kiss and everything, and I guess she points out, technically, Dipper, you had your first kiss too, which, Dipper doesn't want to have anything to do with. And then she gets a message in a bottle at the pool, thanking Mabel for saving him and everything like that. That kind of moment will definitely get referenced later down the line in the series. So yeah, it kind of just picks up different storylines that we've already known before. Dipper trying to get with Wendy, and continuing Stan's rivalry with Gideon, and Mabel having yet another summer crush, and then, it kind of ending up in, heartbreak and everything. We also get Crypticum at the end, which translates to Vivan los patos de la piscina, which is Spanish for Long Live the Pool Ducks, which is a reference to one of the subplots where Seuss is trying to save all the inflatable pool ducks due to a trick that was played on him by Dipper and Wendy, who tell him that they need to be freed. So yeah, again, just another kind of one and done episode, kind of continuing stuff that we already known about, and, somewhat setting up stuff for later down the line, but not really anything important. But yeah, just okay episode. But yeah, still a pretty good time.